It says I'm live. I just am waiting for everybody to appear. Hello, hello. I am Jenny Elliott. This is Friday with the Library in the Blue Box. And hopefully everybody here knows what the blue box is. And I'm just waiting. Okay, I have somebody here. Hello, somebody. Please say hi in the comments. Okay. Yay, hi. Okay. Now we're just waiting for NJ Sullivan to hop back on. And I guess while we're waiting, I will read the bio. And of course it's tipping because today is fun. Okay. Get back to the top of my document. Okay, let's welcome NJ Sullivan to Friday with the Blue Box. Friday with the Library in the Blue Box. And I am your host, known as Jenny, as well as Friday Blue. He was born in Buffalo, New York. He first read the entire Sherlock Holmes series at age 12. Okay, good. There you are. Let me know when I'll see you. Okay, there you are. He first read the entire Sherlock Holmes series at age 12, and soon after picked up Edgar Allan Poe. Within 2 years, he had begun writing short stories and developed a lifelong obsession with storytelling. He credits his Western New York upbringing with giving him an appreciation for people who grin when they fight and interesting but understated characters. Sullivan likens writing to creating sculptures in clay. You build a framework, slap on more than you need, then carve away everything that isn't necessary. His first book, Nickel City, really awesome. Oh, I didn't. Yes. And it was published in 2012, followed by 3 more mystery novels. Maquis, A Man Out of Time, and The Man from Darke County. I really love The Man from Darke County. And an ongoing science fiction short story series, The Void Veil Chronicles, which he will get back to at some point. He has since started working on audiobooks and has many podcasts available. Please come find him at lanternaudioworks.com and all your favorite podcast places. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Let's see if this does this again.
Can anybody hear an echo?
I think it's good. I don't hear it.
Okay. I don't hear it either. I didn't hear it to begin with.
Celosia, do you hear an echo?
No echo so far.
Okay. We're not hearing any echo so far.
Okay, yay. Okay.
Also, your mouth and your your video and your audio are synced up again. So we may have just had a weird bad connection. So
okay, yeah, I think everything just okay. We start again. We have a weird connection. At least my daughters have the baby. If he runs in, he'll end up in my lap. So everybody, please forgive me. I did have babysitters, but they had to go. They get hauled into work. But
oh yay.
The medical field is crazy right now. Okay.
Yes. Crazy is what we do.
Yes, that is the best part. Okay, I guess let's get started again. After everything I just read, I read out how you became a writer. What about that gave you the love of storytelling and writing?
Wow, this question sounds so familiar. I started out, I was an early reader. I'm going to answer it a little bit differently because I've had a little bit more time to think about it.
Okay.
I was an early reader. I started reading at 2 or 3 years old and progressed pretty quickly and just loved stories. Like I grew up in a family that when the family got together, they all sat around the kitchen table or, leaning on the counters in the kitchen telling stories from when they were kids. And so I've always had kind of a love of story. And I got into, like you said in the intro, got into Edgar Allan Poe and Sherlock Holmes when I was a preteen, which is a dangerous time to be reading Edgar Allan Poe. Uh, Edgar Allan Poe and Mary Shelley and, Lord Byron and Percy Shelley and the Romantics, weirdly. Um,
Oh yeah. I even got backpack
uh,
copies of a bunch of those for Sophia.
I mean, they're classics. There's a reason. And Bram Stoker, and that led me into the Victorians. That led me into Jules Verne and Orson Welles, H.G. Wells, which led me into Orson Welles later on, actually. But we'll get to that when we start talking about audio stuff. And Arthur Conan Doyle, and like I had this whole thing where I was like, well, that's a really good story. I want to write a story like that. And you kind of ape your heroes, and you could say that the bug bit me, but I think I found the place where my brain worked more. I don't think it was a bug that bit me. I think it was more I found the lane that was going the direction I was supposed to go.
You found your path.
So exactly. Yes, that is a far more concise way to put it, but yes. And that, I started doing that when I was 7 or 8. I started writing stories, and by the time I was 14, 15, I was published. And, life took multiple different paths after that, and I ended up here. That's the TLDR version of my life story as a writer. And then it's like A plus B equals C, and then some magic happens. Here's the answer.
Exactly.
That's how I do science.
And how did that lead into audio storytelling? How did that make you want to do audio storytelling for the masses, like me?
Well, like you. You're not the general masses. You are far more involved than the masses tend to be, or far more invested, I should say. Quite literally invested, actually. I'm
even wearing your company T-shirt at this point.
You're wearing my company T-shirt, yeah. I was gonna wear. Celestia's sister actually made me bootleg merch of our own stuff. She made me a Lantern Audio Works shirt, and I was gonna wear it today, but it's in the laundry, so. She actually bootlegged our merch and gave it to me for Christmas. Like, I was like, oh, this is cool. She must have gotten this. Wait a minute, we don't sell a shirt like this. But now I know that particular PNG file is big enough to do a full front of a shirt with. So might add that to the collection.
The stickers are humongous.
Yeah, they weren't meant to be. I need to fix that. They're supposed to be like bumper sticker size stickers. They're not supposed to be like 6 or 7 inches across.
Where is it?
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
That's how big the sticker is. That's huge. My laptop.
Remind me, Celosia, I need to pick a different size for the lantern stickers because they're like this wide. Yeah. Okay, thank you for bringing that up, by the way. I noticed that at some point I was watching one of your videos and your laptop was up and I was like, oh my God, that sticker is huge. I feel arrogant now. But no, I got into audio storytelling when I was a kid. Like my parents grew up in the 50s and 60s, in the 40s, 50s and 60s actually. And they would listen to radio dramas and they had collections of The Shadow and The Lone Ranger and The Spirit, and they had War of the Worlds, and as I've mentioned before, they had an audio drama adaptation of Star Wars on vinyl. And I grew up hearing all these and listening to A Prairie Home Companion when we were driving home from Grandma's house on the weekend, and just this kind of hearing the voice and hearing I don't know if you know about a guy or remember a guy by the name of Paul Harvey. He was on NPR or AM radio or something, but he always just kind of told stories and read letters that were brought into him. And and he'd tell stories about like people overcoming adversity and stuff like that, and just like kind of these very human interest story type show. And I always really just liked listening to it. You know, sitting in the car at night driving home with my parents and just have the radio on and we're all just listening to the story. And there's nothing to interfere with it because you're in the car at night. You know, there's no scenery to see. There's nothing. You're just enjoying the story and enjoying being told a story. And, you know, I've always kind of had a love for that, and I have a background in performance. I've done acting, I've done voice acting, I've been a musician since I was quite small. So, and as I've mentioned before, I'm also a goofball who does silly voices a lot and dumb accents. And so, you know, there's a part of me that has always loved telling a story or hearing a story well told. So I kind of had a bit of a crisis of identity. And, you know, during the early days of the pandemic, and I realized, well, we'll get to that because you're going to ask me about Lantern, but, you know, that's kind of when I decided that this is the direction I need to go. And this is where I need to be. This is the path I should be on. This is the hill I'm going to die on.
Okay. Here, let's just lead. Yes, let's just go ahead and lead into the Lantern question. Okay, what is Lantern Audio Works? What do you guys do, and what is in the future for you guys? What are the goals?
Lantern Audio Works is an evil corporation bent on global domination. We've stolen diamonds. We created a laser that will turn the entire world to ice. Send in your heroes. Anyway, no. We're an audio production company. I like my idea better, though. I mean, I've got it kind of the Lex Luthor look going already. And
okay, you write your fanfic, I'll write my fanfic, I'll send it in to you guys, and then if you like it, put it on your podcast.
Might not be a bad idea, actually. That might be kind of a funny contest to do. Just do a contest where we have people write fanfic about what Lantern Audio Works is actually doing, especially considering that I regularly refer to our house as the undisclosed location or the bunker. So,
and the place.
And the place.
We're at the place.
We're at the place where we do the stuff with the things. And actually, this whole thing started, I had an office in downtown Denver. We live in the Denver area. And I had an office in downtown Denver that was right by Trinity Church. And it was, you know, I was renting an office on a floor of an office building, and I was paying way too much for it, and I couldn't afford it. I ended up giving it up. But it was right across the street from Trinity Church. And so I just started referring to it as the Trinity site, which anybody who is a fan of history, especially World War II or the history of science, the Trinity site is where the first nuclear device was detonated in the desert outside Los Alamos. It was the Trinity experiment, and it's called the Trinity site. And so I was referring to my office as the Trinity site. It's the place where we make bombs. And it's kind of funny because pretty much everything I actually made in there was, in fact, a bomb. So it wasn't that far off.
Whereas I just refer to us as the swamp and go on with my day.
Yeah, yeah. The reason actually that I started referring to the house as the undisclosed location was because of internet security. Because I was, at the time when that nickname came up, I was streaming on Twitch every day. And, you know, people do stupid stuff. And
not everybody's like me will just randomly send you a congratulations gifts on the company.
Yeah, and nail polish.
Oh yeah. Jody, see, he's wearing it.
I'm wearing it. it actually worked really well. I did coat it with clear coat to keep it from peeling up at my day job, but
Well,
yeah,
that's
it
what we
worked really
recommend
well.
anyway from Color Street. That's what we recommend. You were doing great without
Oh, do
any
you?
questions.
Oh, okay. Okay. But yeah, like, and it hasn't chipped yet, and I was playing guitar earlier, so that's saying something. Um,
Oh, yeah.
I do need to remember to do it when my nails are a bit longer though, because getting the
Okay.
very edge, like getting that clean, I should let my
Yeah.
nails grow a little bit, put it on, and then cut the nail back or file the nail back. So
Oh, yeah. And Lois,
I
yours will be coming as soon as we can get it shipped. I picked out some really pretty ones for you.
really pretty ones for you.
Ooh.
Yeah. She's listening,
They
but
will
she's on
come.
a little bit of a
Yeah,
delay.
I have a delay.
Okay.
I don't think they can hear you. But yeah, she
No,
knows.
I can
I,
hear
I
her.
mentioned you mentioned it to
Okay.
me before, so oh, you can hear her? Okay.
Okay. I just didn't want her to think she
So
was forgotten. It's just it's being shipped from Jody's house.
okay.
And then,
Lantern Audio Works. Oh, go ahead.
okay, if you're, please continue, and then I'll ask that
Okay.
part.
Lantern Audio Works, basically, we're an audio production company. I have a background in it from having been a musician. I know a decent amount about doing mastering and audio levels and stuff like that. And I have a whole collection of microphones. Like I said earlier, I've got like 5 on my desk right now. And what we're doing currently is we're producing fiction podcasts, which is something in the vein of the two that come to mind are the Magnus Archives and Welcome to Night Vale. Those two are slightly different than what we're doing. We're doing more like radio drama type stuff. Less like there's a little bit of a format difference between what we're doing and what they
I
did.
like your radio
But
drama voice.
the idea is, oh, you like my 1930s radio voice? She likes my 1930s radio voice.
It's a pretty great voice.
Oh, God, and now I got to think of something to say in my 1930s radio voice. Okay. Lantern Audio Works presents Spaceman on the Far Side of the Universe. Written by NJ Sullivan and performed by NJ Sullivan. Brought to you by... Oh, crap. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, there was a great company that they used to use on a Prairie Home Companion. Somebody's powdered milk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was.
I
Brought to
can't
you by
either.
Bromide. But, brought to you by Brill Cream. A little dab will do ya. Brill Cream is an actual product.
Yeah, my dad used
or
to
was. I don't know
quote
if
the
it still is.
commercial.
A little dab will do ya? Yeah. The gals will pursue ya. Anyway. So yeah, we produce radio dramas, audio plays. And, we're I think we do pretty well, but we're learning something new every time we do it, which is why we're on the 3rd release of Brimstone right now. And everyone's slightly different than the other two.
Yes,
Because it's my guinea pig. I go back to it and I'm like, oh, I could make this better. What if I did this with it? And then I just go back into the original audio files and yeah, I could totally do that. Yeah, I'm going to change that. Yeah. Well, what if it did this here?
so far
and then
my
that?
least
And,
favorite
it's
is the
kind of
one on Audible compared to the other two.
mine too. Audible makes life very difficult for audio creators because they have such strict rules and they'll tell you something is wrong with it, but they won't tell you what. So you have to try and guess. And they also let big names get away with things they don't let indies get away with.
Uh-huh.
Like background sounds and stuff.
That's BS.
So yeah, that's I have an issue with that. Level the playing field. That's all. But anyway, so yeah, we produce audio stuff, and it came out of me doing Brimstone. I was kind of having a bit of a crisis of faith where there were a lot of money issues at that point. like we were basically broke. I was out of work, and we weren't basically broke. We were in debt. And, I thought I need something to do. I need to try something, you know. And so I decided to try Brimstone, try to do this kind of free-form story, kind of in the style of one of Tom Waits' spoken word pieces, like What's He Building, which is one of the best songs ever, if you've never heard it. It's about living in suburbia, and there's a weird neighbor, and everybody else thinks they have the right to know what the weird neighbor is doing in his own house. And so, I did that, and people really liked it. And I was like, and I also realized right around the same time that this could be like a full story. There's more meat on the bone here. I just took a nibble. There's a lot more here. And
Oh yeah,
so it
you
just
can
kind of
feel
expanded
more when
from
you
there.
hear
It
it.
started out as yeah, that there's a lot of depth there that I didn't realize when I did the first one, when I did Late for My Train. I didn't realize how much depth was there. And around the same time I did that, Celosia, actually just before I did that, Celosia had started doing bedtime stories. And it kind of became just a natural thing where we both realized how much we loved telling stories.
There have been
And,
so many
well, why don't
nights
we
where
make
that
this a
woman is
thing
my
that we do?
hero.
Yeah, there are many nights when she's my hero too, I promise. Um, and we realized we could make this a thing. And, we've focused more and more on it over the past couple of years until it's basically our main, not our main job. We both have day jobs still, unfortunately. Uh, but it's become our main creative focus for the most part. Would you say? Would you say that Lantern is our main creative focus at this point?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't want to speak for you. Okay. Oh, whew. I got myself in trouble there. And so yeah, that's what we're doing now. And we've got were you going to ask what we have coming out? Was that the next question? Because I don't want to jump you.
Yeah, that was the second half of the question. What is coming out in the future?
Oh yeah, it's a big question.
I know, but you had suggested I asked
Celosia
it, but it was
has.
already part of one of the questions in the thing, so I didn't add it.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Celosia has Bedtime Stories, which is her folklore and fairy tale podcast, which is brilliant, as you know.
Oh yeah,
She has that
hence
planned
why
out
she's my
through
hero.
2023. Yeah, she's got that planned out through 2023. So, like, with I don't think any breaks, maybe a 1 month break in that time. And then I have Brimstone, which the latest version is coming out restarting on March 17th. And that's remastered audio, new music. I didn't do any real soundscaping on it because this season of Brimstone doesn't really lend itself to it. I could have done some, but it wasn't written with that in mind, and I didn't want to mess it up by kind of shoehorning soundscaping into it. So it's just a musical background. And then Brimstone Season 2 is also on the way, which is Brimstone: The Fall of Man.
Can't
Uh,
wait.
Currently, the main. What's that? I'm sorry.
I said I can't wait.
Oh, neither can I. It's going to be fun. I've already got it all plotted out, but I haven't started writing it yet. My main current project is Spaceman on the Far Side of the Universe, which is sci-fi adventure, very 1930s, 1940s, Flash Gordon kind of stuff. And, I just wanted to do a fun adventure series that kind of, mixes kind of a sci-fi version of The Mummy, the Brendan Fraser Mummy.
Oh yeah.
That kind of feeling
For those
where
who have missed the
there's
Twitch,
adventure and excitement.
For those who have missed
Go ahead.
the Twitch episodes, you get to hear him soundscaping the background, and that already gives you a feel of what may happen in the story. And I've read so much science fiction, I can't wait to see where he's going with it.
Yeah, I'm being smart, and I'm writing the soundscaping into the script. And I may do all of the soundscaping before I do the actual vocal recordings, so that I can play to it or play off it. Basically have all the instruments recorded before you record the vocals, kind of idea.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to my music background. And that's
Yeah,
my
I figured
current
that's
one,
where you came
and
up with the idea.
that's been a lot of fun to write. Yeah,
I can
it's
see
exactly
the
where the idea
excitement
comes
in your
from.
face when you
It comes
talk
from my
about it.
musical background. Me too. Actually, Celosia commented on how excited I seem about Spaceman. It's the kind of stuff I grew up on. Like the other day, a couple of weeks ago, I made her watch the 1983, I think it was, Flash Gordon movie that had all the music done by Queen. And then we watched Ice Pirates, which is from the same era, but doesn't even remotely take itself seriously. It's
Oh my gosh.
one of the funniest, stupidest movies you will ever see in your life. It would be like if they tried to make Spaceballs a drama.
And space herpes.
And also, there are space herpes. Yes. Yeah, it's as gross as it sounds, but it's hilarious.
Yeah. They just
So yeah, Spaceman is the current project. That's gonna be the next one to come out. I don't have a release date because I have to finish writing it first. And
for those
then
who wonder,
Old
all of
Bob,
his stuff is
which
kid friendly. My kids have enjoyed it. There's nothing too.
I do my best. I do my best. I try and keep the swearing, and I've kind of like internally set this rule for myself because it is publicly available. Like you don't even have to pay for it. It's just there. And that being the case, I'm trying to keep the language in the stories better than my language in conversation.
Mhm.
So, so I and also the situations. You know, there is no need for grimdark in the kind of stuff I write, and grimdark is fine. But you know, I did some grimdark when I wrote the Watchmaker trilogy. You know, Nickel City, Maquis, and A Man Out of Time. That got pretty dark in a few places, and because I was in a pretty dark place when I wrote that, I published The Man from Darke County, or no, not The Man from Darke County, Nickel City. I started writing it when I was giving my mom hospice care when she had stage 4 cancer. If that gives you any idea of the kind of mindset I was in when that story came out.
I definitely know that feeling.
And yeah, that story was written from a serious place of anger. And I don't deny that.
Pain,
I never will.
A whole list of words.
Yeah. And it got published a year after she passed away. So, and then I wrote, when I wrote The Man from Darke County, I was giving my father hospice care. So, you know, like those stories come from,
dark, but it
from
had
very different places
so much
than the stuff I'm
humor
doing
in
now.
it.
And it was very much, looking back on it, it was very much more the way my
But
dad
did
dealt
he
with
taste
things.
like lime jello?
Yeah. Oh God, I hope it's not lime jello. But you know, looking back on it, that kind of humor is how my dad faced things. Like when they told my dad that he had congestive heart failure, he said, "I don't have congestive heart failure. I'm 72 years old." Like, I'm old. My body is failing because I'm old. You can call it what you want, but the answer is old.
I'm
You know, and that's
sorry.
just how he dealt
I
with
know I
things.
shouldn't laugh, but it sounds like something that one of my
Oh, no,
family
you
members
should.
would joke about.
Yeah. Like, I don't have bad knees. I just beat the crap out of myself when I was a kid. You know, it's like the same logic.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're written from two very different places. And they ended up being two very different stories. And now I'm in a completely different place than I was when I wrote those. It's part of the reason that I haven't gone back, especially to the Watchmaker.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I could. Got to run the landlords here.
Okay. We'll see you soon, Jody.
Oh, and thank you very much for the congratulations. Thank you very much for the congratulations on the upcoming vows. Yes, Celosia and I are getting married. That shouldn't be a
And
shock
definitely
to
congratulations.
anyone. We've kind of made no secret of it. Thank you. So I was answering a question at some point. I know I was.
Yes.
I don't remember what it was.
You answered the question and you went all over the place. And since Jody did ask the question, I'm going to go ahead and ask the question she asked.
Oh, good.
But with what I had tacked on it. What I had tacked on, you came up with the game What If. Does that help you in moving forward with your stories when you hit an impasse, writer's block?
Yes and no. It doesn't, I don't really get writer's block the way that it's generally described. I think because I plot out my stories so heavily, and because I tend to work in genres that have not set rules, but it's well-trodden paths in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what your character is going to face. You just have to make it interesting or inventive how they face it, in what order, and that kind of stuff. But because I plot out so heavily, I don't generally get like that shut down, can't think of anything kind of writer's block. I do run into, places where it's difficult for me to know where to go next, but 30 years into this, I kind of have a pretty big box of tools to play with, and a big box of toys, and a bag of tricks. And I can go, well, okay, and I have kind of a large reference library of stories to work from to say, well, how did when this person had their character end up in a similar place, how did they handle it? Well, how did these 5 other writers handle it? And that is a good way to kind of understand how the greats dealt with the problem you're currently dealing with. And that's, that mental toolbox is really, really helpful. So I don't run into it in that way. What if comes, or the game What If comes more from, I want to write a story, but I have no idea what I want to write about. It's more of a idea generator than, and I'm sure actually it could very easily be used if your character ends up in a spot, and you get that kind of writer's block and you don't know where to go with it. You could absolutely use it for that. But that's kind of not how I developed it. And I say developed it like it's, it's like Risk or something, or D&D. But the idea is basically you say, what if, and then a scenario or a phrase or, an event, something. And then you just spout off as many dumb ideas as you can from that. So you could absolutely use that for writer's block. I do it because it's fun to think up story ideas. Like Celosia and I will come up with story ideas while we're driving. If, we have nothing better to do, if we've run out of radio stations. And it's just fun to be like, well, what if this happened? Oh, what if that happened? What if this happened? And then you just it's spitballing. It's slightly more formalized spitballing. And on my old YouTube channel way back in the day, I had a whole show that was just me doing what ifs, and sometimes for 15 or 20 minutes, just one idea and rattle off as many concepts as I could based around it.
Okay.
And we actually are thinking about including that in Punks in the Library when it comes back. When we're doing interviews.
Continuing with the idea.
Make the person we're interviewing do what ifs. Yeah, making them play the game.
That
as
would
part
rock.
of it. So anyway, you were going to say something. Should I answer this question from Sonia?
Yes, please answer Sonia's question.
Okay. Do you write a little bit every day, or do you have a set time you write each week? Yes. Uh, my work schedule is I generally work 3 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. So I tend to do what I call lantern work, which could be anything from marketing to writing to soundscaping to mastering to recording on, before I go to work in the 3 hours I'm awake before work. And then when I'm at work, I write some because in that 10-hour shift or 10.5-hour shift, I have about 45 minutes of time when I'm not actually working. So I don't get a whole lot of time, but I'm off on Fridays. So with the exclusion of this Friday where I did a long stream on Twitch because I hadn't streamed in a couple of days and I kind of missed it, I will write on Fridays because Celosia doesn't get home from her job until about 5 or 5:30, and I just have the whole day where I can just have the house to myself and just write and just do it. And so Fridays are kind of my office day. They're my writing day, but I also do some writing during the week in my free time. A lot of that writing tends to be more on the plotting side of things because when I write, I tend to get very focused and I lose track of time, and I don't want to do that at my job. So I tend to do plotting or layout or like more editing and behind the scenes kind of work. So I hope I answered that well.
I've listened and read to many of your posts and have noticed even through your distaste, you still try to teach, such as encouraging the reading of laws, as well as looking at how to change how things run for the better. What do you want us to know to get started as writers and audio workers? Well, audio people.
Creators. We are all creators.
Yes, creators.
I'm sorry,
Much
what?
better word.
Well, it's more of an umbrella term. It kind of covers everybody. So, I don't want to accidentally exclude somebody. The main thing is if you want to tell a story, no matter what media you're telling it in, whether you're using video or audio or, print, the written word, is tell a story, find a story you want to tell. Find a story you're excited about that you want to tell. And, in a lot of cases, that's a story you want to read that nobody's told yet or not told it in a way you liked it. Whatever the reasoning behind it may be, a story you want to tell will be the story that will force fidelity upon you. You'll want to tell it well. You'll want to be proud of it when you're done. And you'll want to, especially if it's a story you want to hear or you want to read, you want it to be up to the standards of if you bought it or you listened to it on your own and it was somebody else's work. And so you'll want to learn how to do it well. You'll want to learn how to use the tools. You'll want to learn how to tell it in the best way you can. And that's all any of us can do is tell it in the best way we can. And tell it as truthfully as we can. And that is the number one thing, is telling a story that you really want to tell, not just because you should. And don't let anybody tell you that you should, that, oh, it's this kind of story, it needs these elements. It came up very interesting for me. I listened to, I don't know if you'll know the name, but Andy Weir, the guy who wrote The Martian.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I saw the movie. The movie was great. And then I listened to the audiobook. The audiobook's great. And he had a new one come out on audio. And because of the work I do, I can't just have a book in front of me. So I do listen to a lot of audiobooks. I'm also an audiophile, and that's kind of my genre. So, that's kind of my medium. so I consume that quite a bit. And The Martian was very grounded, very down to earth. Like, you could almost see it as like a biopic, as a fictionalized version of real events. And then he comes out with this book called Project Hail Mary, in which it's once again set in space, it's science fiction, and the main character befriends an alien. And there are like aliens and all this weird stuff in this book, and it's nothing like The Martian. And it was the story he wanted to tell next. And he did a great job. Like, people tried to tell him that The Martian wouldn't work because it was Robinson Crusoe in space. That it's not going to work, nobody's going to, your science fiction needs to have these elements. And he basically ignored all of it. He ignored all of the advice and ended up making The Martian. And then when he went to do Project Hail Mary, when he kind of pitched that to his publishers, they said, people aren't going to want this from you. They want another book like The Martian. And he did it anyway, and he wrote another great book. There are so few great stories, great creations in literature and, in audio storytelling, take your pick. In storytelling as an umbrella term, follow the rule. So few great stories follow the rules that people tell you stories have to follow. Tell it the way you want to tell it, and tell it the best you can. And tell the story you want to tell. That's ultimately what it comes down to for me. The way I want to tell stories is I want to tell stories. There are people who want to write stories and have people read them. There are people who want to do wordless video essays to tell stories. There are people who tell stories through writing instrumental music. That's all storytelling. It's all different storytelling.
There are people who
and there's
tell
no right or wrong
stories
way to do any of it.
through a dance.
Yeah. And there's, oh, yes, please. I don't have a preference. You choose the one you like least.
Okay.
I'm being offered alcohol. I thought we had a
Okay.
rule about not drinking
Do
during.
you want me to get you a Topo Chico instead?
No, I would rather have the tea than the Topo Chico. Oh, I love my fiance.
Okay. That comes up to
she's
the next
sitting here
question.
watching me sweat, just so you know.
Mhm.
Do I love my fiance? Yes, I answered it. Yeah.
No, I know you love Celosia, and you probably know that I love Celosia, but the next question is coffee or tea? And what brand is your favorite?
Oh, the coffee or tea part, it depends. My normal morning drink is a cup of coffee, but just one. If I'm sitting relaxing, tea. And for coffee, I tend to go with a medium roast, decent quality. My personal favorite is a Javalia, which you can get in the grocery store. I'm not particularly fancy. As far as tea goes, my number one will always be Earl Grey. It's more flavors than brands. There are some brands that are better than others. Earl Grey is my favorite. I also love an Irish breakfast tea, but when I'm recording, when I'm actually doing audio work, I don't touch any of those. It's peppermint tea or lemon, and that's it. Or cinnamon, if we happen to have cinnamon, because they're all acidic enough to clear mucus and spit out of your mouth. And they don't have caffeine in them because caffeine can affect your vocal cords.
Okay. That is very good information.
Not while you're recording. You do put it in your Irish breakfast.
Yes, but I don't drink Irish breakfast while I'm recording.
I was just clarifying.
I do put milk in my Irish breakfast because that's basically coffee.
Yeah.
It's the Irish equivalent of the American cup of joe.
Which of your characters do you want to hang out with, and what would you give? Twining is what I go to.
Oh. Oh,
But I'm the
geez.
weirdo that makes a gallon of Earl Grey and drinks
Which of
that
my
all day.
characters? See, I was talking to myself the other day, thinking I need a carafe for the office, like just to keep all of my tea hot, so I don't have to keep going downstairs to make more. Um, which of my characters would I want to hang out with, and what would we do? Oh, there's a clean answer and a dirty answer for this question.
My
Uh,
kids
I'll go with the clean
are
answer.
asking for the clean answer.
Okay, well, I was going to give the clean answer anyway.
Yeah.
Who would I want to
You're
hang out
one of
with?
the people that my kids will want to watch
I
part of
mean,
the episode of.
okay. Um, Bob would be a lot of fun to hang out with, but you can't have a conversation with him. Like at all. Because he doesn't have a mouth. There's actually, there's a joke reason behind that, but I'll get to that in a minute. Why Bob actually doesn't have a mouth.
But do you
There's
you
two
see
joke
why that
reasons.
was going to be the
But
nightmare when they get to Lantern Audio Works Broadcasting Company and it's just him standing there?
that's very true. It's very true. Honestly, uh, geez, that is tough. Who would I want to hang out with? I could go really obscure and say I'd probably get along best with Beau LaFontaine from the Watchmaker series
Mm-hmm.
because he and I have very similar backgrounds, very blue-collar backgrounds. And he's the guy I could probably sit down and have a beer with and, chat at the bar. But, so that, if I was hanging out with Beau, that's probably what we'd be doing. We'd be playing pool in a bar somewhere. Who else? Who else would I want to hang out with? John Rainey, who you haven't met yet, is probably the closest to my heart.
Okay.
Or possibly director Janice from Void Veil. He seemed like he'd be an interesting fellow. He seems like he never has to pay for a drink anywhere he goes because he just looks at them until they give him the drinks. Yeah, a few of them. There's a lot of my characters I wouldn't want to hang out with. I wouldn't want to be within 100 yards of Tommy McKinney.
Mm-hmm.
Dude is terrifying. He's the kind of dude when he walks into the room, everybody can smell murder on his breath, So.
That's why that dream was so freaking weird.
Yeah, I think.
You see this big scary guy, it's like, he got away. I'm going to call Paw Patrol.
So yeah,
I had
think
a nightmare.
probably. Oh, nobody. Yeah, she told you about the nightmare, or I told you about the nightmare she had. Yeah, it was Paw Patrol and Tommy McKinney.
Going after Rasputin.
Oh, going after Rasputin. Yeah. Rah rah Rasputin. Anyway. So yeah, probably. Honestly, if I had to pick one right now, it would be Jack Rainey from Spaceman. But you haven't met him yet, so. But he is a character very close to my heart, kind of very close to my heart in the same vein as Alan Shriver from The Man from Darke County. Just a dude who knows he's in over his head and is just like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to deal with this now. Like that kind of, that very dry kind of gallows humor. Like, are you kidding me? He's very put upon. He's very put upon. Yeah. So you guys are going to like him. And the story, the first thing I can give you the first line of the story because I've already written the first line of the story. And you heard the sound effects because you were listening. The first line of the story is, oh, shut up. That's the first line. That's the first thing you hear him say. Oh, shut up. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's one
I
of
don't have
those.
any lines written after
Everything's
that,
went
but I have
wrong.
that one. or he has no idea how wrong everything is yet. He's just grumpy when he wakes up. But so yeah, probably John Rainey, because I think he and I would understand each other pretty well.
Okay.
All right, that's it. Next.
Why is there a chair on your wall?
Why is there a chair on my wall? Because that's where it all began. It literally is. That chair, that's where it all began like 3 times, actually.
That chair?
That chair, my mom bought at a school closeout sale in 1969. They were selling off a bunch of the old furniture from a public school, and she bought this chair to have at kind of her sewing/writing table. Or her, my mom was a teacher when my parents were first married. So her kind of desk/workspace. That was the chair she got for it. And in the house I grew up in, that chair was in the spare room, which is where the computer was. And it ended up at the computer desk, and I wrote my first novel in that chair. And after, we kind of cleared out my parents' house, I kept that chair. And when I was living in my own house, I used that chair at my desk, and I wrote all of Void Veil sitting in that chair. And when I started streaming on Twitch, I was streaming in that chair. And I had the idea to do Brimstone in that chair. That chair needs to be completely rebuilt. It is, if you go back to the people who were watching me on Twitch in the very early days back in 2017, they will tell you all about the squeaky chair, because every joint in that chair is loose, and it squeaks constantly. Like if I were sitting in that chair right now, you wouldn't hear me, you just hear as I moved. So it's now an art installation on the wall until I can get it fixed, because I am going to fix it, restore it completely. But for right now, it's just a reminder that we all come from humble beginnings, basically. And it doesn't matter where you come from. It matters where you're going and how you get there. So that's why there's a chair on my wall. And I can't believe it took like a year for people to realize that I had a chair hanging on the wall.
Well,
Like,
I
it
was
was
going
in
to ask
every
you, and
video
then you
I did
agreed
for
to
like
do
a
the
year.
interview, and I'm like, I'm going to do this live.
And actually, the one guy on Twitter who responded to your thing saying, I know that chair, or whatever he said, he was one of my first followers on Twitch. And he's also, I believe, a patron. Galen Frey.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he is a patron. It's confirmed. And yeah, he's been with me
He's
since,
most definitely a blue box person.
He's been with me almost. Oh, definitely. He's been with me almost since the founding of 66 Underground, like that far back, like 2016, 2017. So, a loyal friend and fan, much like you. But yeah, so that's why there's a chair on my wall, because that chair both reminds me that I started out spending 8 hours a day sitting in a hard wooden chair, and that I could always end up going back to spending 8 hours a day sitting in a hard wooden chair. And quite frankly, I wouldn't mind.
You came up with some awesome things in that chair.
Yes. Much of my adult life has come out of that chair, weirdly. Beat up old piece of crap chair. It's actually not a piece of crap. It's like solid wood, but it needs a little TLC.
Oh yeah. What is your favorite part about streaming?
What is my favorite part about streaming? There is a live performance, especially a live performance with no script and no net. You have to wing it the entire time. And we don't stream like I used to. I used to do 6 or 7 hour streams, and I would be doing voices and be high energy the whole time. And quite frankly, it burned me out. That's why I stopped streaming the first time to begin with. I got burned out. But streaming is a type of entertainment where once you're doing it, you just go. It's the video equivalent of playing freeform or playing improvisational punk. Like you're just wherever whatever happens, you just roll with it and you just keep going. And if you have a technical screw up, you include it. You don't ignore it. You go, well, that broke. Give me a minute, you know? And there's something about that that is very, and also like being able to directly and live interact with the audience and, you know, bounce off of them. There's, you know, there's a part of that that's very close to my soul. And I've tried doing live streams where I actually tell stories where I'm getting feedback and changing the story live. But that is way harder than I thought it was going to be. It is so hard to do, like coming up with a story on the fly. You like it's like improv comedy but for drama. It's it's a wild space to be in. And basically streaming is improv. And you have to be on your toes the whole time, and you have to be able to roll with what comes, and you have to let go of any preconceptions of how it's going to go and just let it go where it's going. And there's something very freeing about that, especially if you go into it saying, I don't care if this turns out well, I just want to have fun. Oh, yeah. And that's why we started streaming on Twitch again, is we just wanted to have fun. You know, Solosi and I actually talked it over before we set up the new channel. Lantern. Oh, you all right?
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Jeez. I thought she was choking.
Or I tried to stifle a sneeze.
Oh. Solosi and I actually talked about it. I said, you know, I kind of want to get back into streaming, but I don't want to take it seriously. I just want to do it. I just want to get on there, play some video games, you know, stream while I'm working on stuff and, you know, BS back and forth with people and just enjoy it. I want to enjoy it like I used to before I started taking it seriously. And so that's what we're doing. We're just doing it for fun. And there's something very energizing about that. And you show up every time. So that's also nice.
And I can honestly say Dante and I appreciate it. And he totally loves the gaming. He's getting where he pretends he has the pipe rifle.
For kind of other games. He pretends he has the pipe rifle. He can kill zomzoms with us anytime he likes. But yeah, there's a whole. It's so different than anything else we do, and it's so like it's right there, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to do it, and it's very fun in that way. And we want it to be fun. We wanted to do it for fun. And, you know, of course, you know, we want to hit all the goals. We want to hit, my brain is stuck on the word arbiter because I've been thinking about Brimstone. Affiliate. And, you know, maybe partner eventually. And, you know, that's mainly because we want people to watch us. We didn't start this to make money off it. We started it to have fun. And it's something also that we can, one of my first streams when I moved to Colorado, I actually streamed myself climbing a mountain for the first time. And just on my phone. And you can do that. You know, you don't need all the fancy equipment that I generally use for that kind of stuff. I could just bring up my phone if I'm, you know, sitting in an airport or, you know, getting new tires put on the car and I've got like an hour and a half to wait, just open my phone and stream or watch somebody stream. And, you know, it's whatever it is. And you just make the best of whatever it is. And it's very fun to me because of that. Because it's so incredibly unscripted. Like, you can't even guarantee you're going to have a good connection kind of unscripted.
Oh yeah.
You just hope that the building doesn't burn down while you're still in it.
And that's what I was testing earlier.
So,
I got
yes,
to
that's
talk with some friends. That's why I changed from the computer to the phone, because the computer was not getting good internet hookup, but my phone is.
see, that's weird. Usually it would be the other way around, I'd think. But who knows?
I don't know. This new Z flip phone thing
So,
is the best phone
yeah,
I've ever had. Um, okay, you have talked about plotting
I have a
a lot.
Samsung something.
I didn't have
Plotting.
a choice. I had to get a new phone. What do you recommend about plotting techniques? Just something to get
Ooh,
started with.
well, what I would recommend is don't listen to me. um, the best thing, if you're going to get started, if you think, well, I kind of want to plot this out and have a plan going into this story, that's the system that works best for me. For some people, it doesn't work, and that's fine too. Study, there are kind of methods out there that are tried and true methods that some people use one, some people use another, but they're all solid methods that have been proven to work for people. There's 7-point, there's a 7-point method, there's 3-act structure, 7-point plot structure, 3-act structure, and there's several others that I can't think of off the top of my head that are kind of well known for being like heavily tested ways to plot stories, regardless of what type of story you're writing. These are kind of universal, almost templates, because plotting, a lot of it is based on templates. At least when you're very first starting your plotting, you kind of run it off a template. That's what 3-act structure is. It's a template. 7-point structure is a template, and study those. And if you think, oh, the story idea I had in my head kind of fits this one, well, use that one for that story idea. If, find the one that fits the story, learn how to use it, apply that template to your idea, and then once you're past the basics, it's kind of up to you where you go with it. Once you have, once you have your 3 acts set, like your major points in the 3 acts, or your major points for the 7-point, once you're within that framework, you do what you want. And me personally, everything goes on paper. Everything goes, hold on. I can show you, because I have a notebook right here, because I was doing some work last night. This is my plot for Brimstone, the Fall of Man. This is my main storyline. This is the secondary plot lines. And that's how I laid that one out. And then, let's see here. This is my main notebook that I carry with me all the time. This is a scene-by-scene breakdown of Spaceman. I wrote that one, rather than writing out full plots, I wrote it out scene by scene.
Mm-hmm.
Because that just worked better for that story, because it's a different format and it's a different style of story. But you use what works for the story and what works with your brain. Studying those frames, those templates, can give you a way to organize the story. And to me, that's all it is it's a way to keep the story organized in your brain. And once you do with it, once you have that organizational system, is entirely up to you. You can decide one day, well, no, that scene shouldn't be there. It should be up here, and this scene should be down here. And you can move them around. Also, I have massive stacks of 4x5 note cards that I'll write full scenes out on, and I'll lay them all out on a table and read the story. And if I realize something shouldn't be in a specific spot, I can move the note card and renumber it. And that way, I've now moved that set piece or that bit of dialogue or that scene or, you know, that event to a different location in the story to make it flow better. And that's how I work. Everybody, you know, I'm a very visual thinker. And for me, having it all laid out in front of me is the best way for me to do it once I have the basic plot done. I have a concept, I come up with a plot, I write out the plot, and I edit as I go, writing out the plot, going, oh, no, that shouldn't be like that. It should be this instead. And then once that's done, I write out the note cards. And now I used to take those note cards and write a book. Now I take those note cards and write a script. But the same rules apply. You know, I end up with a document, and that's that. And I keep all the note cards just in case I need to go back and reference something. You know, in case there was a transcription error or something, because I do that too. So yeah, they go through several. Plotting to me is editing before you start writing. You're getting everything in order and organized. And for me, that allows me to focus on what words I want to use, because I don't have to focus on where the plot's going when I'm actually writing the story. So that's me. Not everybody works that way, and if you find a way that works for you that isn't that, I'm not going to diss it. You know, if it works for you, then that's the way you want to work. That's the way you should work.
Yes, exactly. For those trying to figure out plotting from the pastor view, that is good advice. A popular question that has been...
I do my best to not give advice. I have kind of a rule about not giving advice, because people, for two reasons. One, I could be wrong, and I'm very likely wrong, because I don't believe that there is one answer to every question, especially in a creative field. And two, well, no, that is two. There is not one answer. You know, there are multiple ways to work, and there are as many ways to do things as there are people who do them. Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to give kind of like what works for me and how I do things and why I do them the way I do them. But there are a lot of people on social media who try to position themselves as gurus or experts. And they all hate me, because they'll say something and I'll give them 45 different reasons why that doesn't always apply, or examples of, you know, popular or successful works, whether that be creatively successful or financially successful, where it didn't apply, or where the writer intentionally, like I saw somebody on Twitter the other day, I actually had to walk away from my phone when I saw this, who said, don't use onomatopoeia. Don't describe things phonetically. And I responded with, have you ever heard of James Joyce? And it was a she, but it wouldn't have mattered either way, responded, no. Like, James Joyce wrote Ulysses. The entire book is written phonetically. Like, it's meant to be sounded out. And I'm pretty sure that dude won a Pulitzer Prize. Like, he's James Joyce. So, like, you can't say that it's wrong to do if it's been successfully done, or if nobody's done it yet. The trick to doing things nobody's done before, or things that people say are impossible to do, and I take this directly from Terry Pratchett, is you do them fast enough that the universe doesn't notice that something impossible has just been done. So you can get it done before the universe realizes it's not possible.
That reminds me of another thing, like with Douglas Adams. He said the key to flying was missing the ground.
Yeah, it's falling and never hitting the ground. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
to learning how to fly.
Yeah, that's what she was just saying. Yeah. And what's funny is I have a friend whose entire life has been based on that concept, even though he's never read a page of Douglas Adams in his life. He's one of those dudes who, no matter how many times he falls, he never manages to hit the ground. He's
I
a
don't think
very, very
Sonya would
successful
know
man
how
now,
many
and
times we
he
went through
should have
his
been in
books.
prison.
Should have been in prison? Wow.
Yeah, he should have been in prison or dead more times than I've had birthdays. And yet, successful man with two happy, smart kids and a happy marriage, owns multiple rental properties, and is a union guy. And nobody expected him to make it past 20. He just managed to
Okay.
not hit the ground anytime he fell. He just kind of kept circling. Like, his whole life is based on that quote, and he doesn't even know it. It's great. And he and I have been friends since kindergarten. So
That rocks.
I know him well enough to know that that is exactly the case. He's the kind of guy who, like, got into a bad fight with his parents, decided to move to Atlanta, drove to Atlanta, parked in an industrial area, woke up in the morning, realized he was parked outside the Gibson Guitar Factory, walked in and got a job.
Mm-hmm.
Living out of his car. How does that work?
I don't know.
I applied to like 20 places before I got the job I
that
have
did
now.
that.
Like,
He just picked up a piece
he's one of these
of
people who never
2x4
hits the
and
ground.
got a job. It makes no sense, these people like that, but
Those
it
people
works
are
for them.
amazing. But yeah, like those are the kind of people you write about. They're like in once again, to get back to mention Terry Pratchett, they're like Rincewind.
Mhm.
His body's covered in scars. Yes, but they're all on his back. Nothing manages to kill him.
Mhm.
But anyway, we were talking about other things, and I went on a rant.
Well,
Par for
that
the
works.
course.
That's my favorite part about our conversations. They go everywhere.
Yeah. And sometimes nowhere.
But it works.
Anyway,
Okay.
let's go on. It does
One of
work.
the most popular questions lately are authors' opinions on zombies. And I know you have an opinion. If in a real life zombie situation, could
I
zombies
have
climb
many.
climb ladders, walls,
Could
whatever?
zombies climb? And I am not a purist. I am not a George Romero purist when it comes to zombies.
Yes.
I believe that zombie, very much like werewolf, is a term that can mean multiple things. If you are talking about the classic
The ones like in
Caribbean
7 Days to
Haitian
Die.
Nzamba zombie, the ones, okay, well,
Like
see,
the
that's part of the
Walking
lore
Dead
of the game.
zombies.
The Walking Dead zombies have no higher brain function. So, Walking Dead zombies, I don't believe could work a doorknob intentionally. I don't think they could climb a ladder intentionally because they have no higher brain function. They are a brainstem with mobility and hunger.
Mm-hmm.
They're lizard brains, so I don't think that they could do it. And the same applies to the George Romero zombies, which are the classic Night of the Living Dead zombies.
Mm-hmm.
They have no higher brain function. So no, they couldn't climb a ladder, they couldn't open a door, they couldn't work a lock intentionally. Now, if you're talking about, say, 28 Days Later zombies, yes, they absolutely can. Because their higher brain function isn't gone, but they've been infected with a virus that makes them act out of rage and only ever out of rage. That doesn't take away your intelligence, it takes away your foresight. So
Mm-hmm.
they'd be fully capable of climbing a ladder. They'd be fully capable of working in groups. They're closer to an out of control dog than they are a lower life form. They would be capable of thought and planning, I think. So it depends on what kind of zombies the 7 Days to Die zombies are. There is some lore in the game that there has been a nuclear detonation or possibly accident that
Mhm.
has affected the world, and a virus outbreak. So both of those things have come up. In the newest build, I'm not sure how much of that lore is still in the game. But
Yes.
personally, I think that since you do run into zombies in that game who carry weapons. Now, they'll be carrying a club or an axe, but they'll use it as a weapon. They're capable of thinking on that level. There are zombies in that game that can spit acid, and they'll aim it at you. So they're capable of thinking, on that level, on that animal level, like a bird of prey's level of thought. And there are birds of prey in that game as well, the vultures,
Yes.
that are also zombified. And there are zombie bears and zombie wolves and zombie coyotes. So in that game, I think that the zombies of that lore should be able to climb a ladder. Now, they've proven to me multiple times, pretty much every time we play the game, they prove to me that they don't know how to work a doorknob. So we kind of know the limit. They can climb, which many animals can climb, but they can't work. They're
A door.
basically slightly dumber than primates because they can't work a door, they can't work a lock, they can't work a firearm, but they can use simple tools and they can climb and they can, target and come after you. But they're not smart enough to work in teams for pack hunting or for planning. They don't do that. So that was an interesting aside. Thank you for that. I don't get asked the zombie questions very often. Most people save that for the horror writers.
Yeah,
Although
but
the original
in Kelly's, the original what?
Night of the Living Dead
Yes.
is sci-fi horror. It's not just horror because the dead come back to life because of a comet
Mm-hmm.
that the Earth passed through the comet's tail. And that's what brought the dead back to life. In fact, 28 Days Later is sci-fi horror because they're infected with a virus that was created in a lab. The Walking Dead, I don't know if they ever got into where that virus came from, whether it was natural or not.
I
If
have
it's
no
natural, I
idea.
wouldn't call it sci-fi horror. I stopped watching after like season 2. But a lot of zombies, like Shaun of the Dead, one of my favorite movies, is sci-fi horror because it was something that was brought back on a probe. You can hear them
Mm-hmm.
talking about this probe coming back early, and that's where the virus came from. That's where the infection that turned everybody into zombies came from, was this space probe. So very much an Andromeda Strain situation there.
Oh yeah.
Wow, I'm showing the length and breadth of my knowledge here, aren't I?
I love
of
it.
my 70s sci-fi movies.
I learned from watching Kelly Lynn Colby in her 20 questions that all authors will have a opinion on the zombies.
Oh yeah, and a lot of them will disagree with me, but I think it depends on the zombie
Oh, yeah.
lore because there isn't just one kind of zombie. Just like there's actually a great YouTube channel that Solosia and I love watching called Overly Sarcastic Productions. And the one of the presenters, her name is Red, or she goes by Red. And she does trope talks, and she talks about books, and she does all this stuff, and it's really, really good. I recommend it to everybody. And she
Mm-hmm.
did one about werewolves. And the one she did about werewolves, she pointed out at the very beginning, there is actually no such thing as a werewolf. There is no single lore. And there is no solid evidence for 90% of what we believe about werewolves historically. Like the silver
Mm-hmm.
bullet thing came from the 1940s. The stories of werewolves changing, sometimes they're completely an animal. Sometimes they're a human-animal hybrid. Sometimes They're an animal with the intelligence of a human. So, you know, sometimes they're an astral projection of a person in wolf form. Like, there is no one werewolf historically. It all depends on the culture and the time that you draw your reference from. So I feel the same way about zombies as I do about werewolves, is there isn't one.
Oh, yeah.
So have some fun with it. Do what you like. I personally like the, if I ever wrote zombies, they'd probably be fungus zombies. I like me some fungus zombies. Like that fungus that infects the ant's brain and makes them climb. No, Sonia,
No, I
I
haven't
have
seen
not
that one,
seen
Sonia.
that. I don't have Netflix, unfortunately. That's that's kind of a warm bodies kind of idea. I kind of like that.
That would be good to
Yeah, my
watch.
personal favorite
Thanks,
zombies
Sissy.
are the ones that are like basically, yeah, yeah. If I ever get Netflix back, that's going to be on my list. My personal favorite zombies are the body horror zombies, the like the ant fungus one. It makes it climb, it takes over its brain, makes it climb a tree, and then just anchors it there until it can push out its spores.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually
That would be
very much
definitely interesting.
like the original zombies. Like the original zombies from where the word comes from Haitian mythology or Haitian, I don't want to say voodoo, but like the witch doctor beliefs
Oh,
of
yeah.
Haiti. Basically, they were people
Like the
who
rainbow and the serpent.
were taken over, and the serpent and the rainbow, exactly that, exactly that. Don't bury me, I'm not dead.
Mhm.
And basically, they turned people into slaves. That was the whole point of it. They turned people into slaves and made them work on plantations for free. And there's a guy who actually, like, he was,
Oh, wow.
I don't know if he's still alive, but he was alive when I was a kid, who had actually survived it and escaped. And nobody believed it was really him until he pointed out that when they put him in the coffin, one of the nails from the coffin pierced his cheek. And the people who put him in the coffin remembered that happening, and he had the scar from it.
Oh,
Like,
cool.
he was actually a classic voodoo zombie. So yeah,
A
that kind
science
of blew my
teacher
mind.
created the virus in
But
that series.
and All of Us Are Dead. So yeah, if somebody created the virus, then that's sci-fi horror. That's that blend, or horror with sci-fi elements.
Yes. Um, who, uh, who are your favorite authors that help spark your storytelling?
Ooh, Terry Pratchett's definitely high on that list.
Oh, yeah.
Just the joy he takes, and everything from like well-written, funny, fleshed out characters all the way through like dumb wordplay and everything in between. Pratchett is one. Arthur Conan Doyle is always going to. I'm currently listening to the full Sherlock Holmes stories again. You know,
The
that's a
one
classic go-to for me.
with Fry?
I'm sorry?
The one read by Stephen Fry?
Yes, the one read by Stephen Fry. That one. Yeah. Uh, I work 10-hour shifts, and there are some audiobooks that aren't that long. So when you get something that's like 54 hours long, it's a good one to go with. Excuse me. Sorry. I turned my head, forgetting that my mic is hanging off my neck. That didn't help. Um, but yeah, Edgar Allan Poe. Like, I've gotten into Edgar Allan Poe's science fiction and mystery stuff more than his like classic horror, like the Purloined Letter and Murders in the Rue Morgue and that type of stuff, and the Gold Bug. And let's see, who else is currently
Hi.
feeding
Come
the
on.
beast here?
Over this way. Come over here,
Um,
please. Our buddy has showed
Oh,
up.
is that the man?
Yep.
All right. What's up, Dante?
He is going to join us for the rest of the thing. Oh no, it's escaping.
Okay. But yeah, so I'd say right now those are the ones that are really kind of feeding it. And like the old, you know, like the stuff I read as a kid, the short stories that were in like Amazing Tales and stuff like that, the old science fiction periodicals. Part of my goal is to get a full collection of them from the golden age of all those magazines. And we have a local bookstore that actually carries a bunch of them. And I kind of want to start buying them so I can have all of them. And yeah, because to me those are like, you know, those are the literary equivalent of like The Shadow and The Phantom and, you know, all
Yes,
those
small baby.
classic and and you know, like Buck Rogers and all that stuff. I love that stuff, that golden age stuff. H.G. Wells got pretty dark near the end, but his stuff is like, he saw things coming that nobody else did. Like he predicted the atomic bomb in like 1910 and what would happen. Mostly a lot of people who are dead.
No.
A lot of people who haven't written anything in 100 years.
Yeah.
And also, you know, I'm kind of inspired by like the film noir, like Raymond Chandler, the 1940s detectives and stuff.
Yeah.
Really? Is that so? Okay, so yeah, those folks.
Those are great books. The ones I've read
Yeah.
so far.
There's so many.
Okay, you and Celosia going to write a story together for the podcast?
We actually have a couple planned. We haven't moved on any of them yet, but we've got a couple of concepts. I don't know if they're going to be for a podcast or if they're going to be actually written. Like, we haven't even gotten that far. We have ideas. And one of them is more fleshed out than the other. One of them I'm very excited about doing. The other one, I'll decide if I'm excited about it or not once we get more into it. But we have one that I'd love to do, the two of us, and it would be both of us. Both of us working on it. And it would be kind of a mixture of where we both come from and what we both do. Yeah. Yeah.
See, he has head. See, you guys see his head too.
So yes, we have some in the
Are
works,
there
but nothing with any
encouraging?
kind of solid.
Sorry, that phone call has messed up my volume.
Oh, you're okay. I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Are there well, my kids did have this question. Are there, Dante, please stop. Are there any advice that you would like to give to younger storytellers?
It's very similar to the advice I would have given earlier. Respect the craft, learn it, you know, read outside what you want to write. You have no idea how much you can learn from reading things that come from other places. You know, like all genres, all types of stories, consume stories and learn from them. Consume them with intent and on multiple levels. And when you come up with an idea for a story, that you really want to tell it to the best of your ability, and don't let anybody tell you you're wrong, because I spent a good bit of my career being told I couldn't do X, Y, or Z, or this won't work. And it turned out that that was completely everybody else's fears, and it had nothing to do with me. So don't let other people's fears or other people's biases keep you from telling the story you want to tell the way you want to tell it. You know, you might not end up with 100 million sales, but you're going to end up telling a story you're proud of. And that's the ultimate thing. The average income for a writer, as of about 10 years ago, the average income for a published author was about $20,000 a year. You don't get into this to make money. You get into it to tell stories. It's great to make money, but the goal is to tell a good story and to leave something. So just keep that in mind. Respect your craft, respect yourself, and respect your audience. You know, that's what we should all be doing, regardless of what medium we work in or genre or field. Respect what you do and respect who you're doing it for, and respect what it is and what it should be. So we got a question for someone just getting back into writing. Do you recommend short stories first? No. And it's a simple answer. I personally don't. I recommend that you tell the story until you're done telling it. Some things will work better as short stories. Some things will work better as novels. I work in short formats because the stories that I come up with work better in format. Multiple novels, those stories worked well in novels. You can do both. They are very different skill sets. Writing a short story is very different than writing a novel. So let the story guide you as to how long it should be. Don't let anybody tell you one way or the other, because you have the entire publishing world open to you at your door. And if you want to put it out there for the world to see, even if nobody wants to do it for you, you can do it yourself. And there are tons of people who will help you do that. So make the story as long as the story needs to be. If you want to write a short story, write a short story. If you want your story to be a novel, or you feel like it has enough meat on it to make it one, or that it feels like it should be that length, make it that length. That's really it as far as that goes, from my perspective at least. From my perspective, and only mine. That's why I don't look at marketing statistics. Never tell me the odds, in the words of Han Solo. You're very welcome. Okay.
What is your favorite ice cream?
Sherbet.
Sit.
Orange sherbet.
Thank you. Orange sherbet?
I'm a sherbet guy. Yeah.
That works.
Orange, lemon, or lime, though orange is my
welcome,
go-to.
Dante. Okay. Yes, orange cream is always my favorite.
Oh, see, a good creamsicle, you could win me over with a creamsicle, don't get me wrong. But, you know, if I'm just having like a bowl, sherbet.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I guess we've hit the end of the questions. And the next question is, where can everybody find you?
I'm right here. Come and get me. No. Lantern Audio Works is our website, lanternaudioworks.com. And all of our currently available podcasts are up there. You can listen to them right on the website. Also, there are links to our merch stores for each podcast and our Lantern merch store. And then on Twitter, I am NJ Sullivan. On Instagram, I am 66 Underground. The number is 66 and Underground. Then, if you try and find me on Facebook, you're not gonna, because I'm never on here. On YouTube, we are Lantern Audio Works. Let's see. On TikTok, we are Lantern_AW. On Twitter, we are Lantern_AW.
Sit.
And on Twitch, we are Lantern_AW. I think I got all of them. That's a lot of them, but I think I got all of them. Oh, and also on Instagram, we are Lantern_AW. Forgot that one. Yep, Lantern Audio Works. That's us. And we do vlog. We haven't done one in a bit because we've had so much other stuff going on, and there's been some minor health issues and a lot of like life logistics going on the past couple of weeks. We're looking into getting a new car and a storage unit, and we're trying to get cleaning done, and we just haven't had time to record one. So we're a couple weeks behind on those, but we're trying to get back on the schedule here. So also on Patreon, Lantern Audio Works, if you want to become a patron, like Jenny did. I'm looking at, I just looked at my webcam to say that. I'm too used to my own setup. Got to learn to adapt. Got to be quick on your feet. So yeah, I think that's everywhere
And
you can find us.
Nephew Jasper wants to know about whether or not you like Goosebumps, the series.
The R.L. Yes. R.L. Stein is a genius. Also, he has a great sense of humor about his own work, which really matters. But yes, I'm a big fan of Goosebumps. I never read them when I was a kid. I didn't actually read the Goosebumps books until I was an adult, and I read them when I was an adult, and I was like, man, if I was a kid, these would scare the crap out of me. But no, they're really well written, and they're good stories, and yeah, like, I am a fan of Goosebumps, and I'm a fan of R.L. Stein. My phone's going off. Apparently people were paying attention when I said things out loud. Sonia.
Yeah.
Or my watch, not my phone. But yeah, that's where you can find me/us. And Celosia will give you hers when she comes on next month.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for helping me get my show started. And
Oh, thank you very much for having me. Anytime. Anytime. What's my favorite paranormal? I'm a big fan of the Shadow Men. Big fan of the Shadow Men. They're kind of a modern urban legend one, linked to sleep paralysis. They're awesome. They are in Brimstone. If you can find them, they're in Brimstone.
I look forward to that.
You've already
Okay,
listened
was
to
there
it.
any more questions in the chat?
Yeah.
Because I went to close the show and everybody just started asking questions.
Everybody started talking. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all for having me. Yeah. And thank you for having me, Jenny. This was a lot of fun.
As always, it has been fun talking with you, and I hope you have an
Yes.
amazing day. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
And
We are going
everybody,
for a walk
please
when I'm
give his
done.
work a chance, his books and his podcasts. And
Yes.
everybody,
Yes.
have an amazing day.
LanternAudioWorks.com. Everybody have a good day. Bye-bye. Thank you, Jenny. I don't know how to
Bye.
get out
Thank
of this.
you.